GM to everyone. We're on the board for the 2021 DFS season. We finished 5th in the double spy. We had a few other good hits. Let's review the week in GPP action.
I suffer from a debilitating condition known as atropic chokitis.
Peter's one of the greatest depositors I've ever seen.
Trust the process. Let's go. Let's go.
I got auto matched with Levitan. This is bullshit.
If I just go the other way in that 66, I win all the money. All the money.
If I had 150 lineups, I'd win too.
Process over results.
Illuminati make a bitch go crazy. I don't know which one of these my baby. Bust out AP, coach 5 bullets in your head like KD. Bust it, bitch go bust it. And I had 10 pints with me in Russia.
Hey everyone. I'm almost out of coffee. This is brutal. I'm gonna shield the coffee from the view because people shame me for my coffee not being dark enough. So I must protect the innocent coffee. Dude, people are crazy. We were joking around with Dink last night after the tilt space, and you know how Dink loves his individually dressed nachos, and I sent him a photo of these lovely nachos that my wife had made for us to have for dinner last night. And some guy is in the mentions trying to analyze why the cheese isn't melted more. You guys are fucking crazy. My God. I can't post anything online without it getting dissected. How are we doing this morning? How are we doing, everyone? GM Dangy, GM Kyle, GM DJ, GM Worm, GM Dustin, good morning. GM J Mike. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was a fun day yesterday. I don't know if you guys got to check out the tilt space. Holka wasn't there yesterday, but Dink subbed in. We had a good sweat in the juke. We were holding on to first place for most of the afternoon, but there was too big of a monster team that was charging on us. And we did eventually slip to second, but that was still a nice hit. I think you guys would enjoy watching the tilt space on replay over on the ETR channel if you happened to miss that yesterday. And then in my own stuff, I had a really, really good day. One of my best GPP days ever, kind of across the board. I had a few bigger hits last year, but this one was very good to me. I'll pull up my spreadsheet to start here, and then we can start looking at a couple lineups. Let's get up my Bankroll challenge sheet. Always fun to fill in your sheet after winning. Not as fun when you don't win, believe it or not. I don't know how it works like that, but it does seem to work like that. So as I mentioned on the Saturday show, I was going to play a little bit more volume on the record here. So I am just playing any of the spies offered. So I was in the 500K spy with 5,555 entries. I was in the 250K spy with 2,777 entries. And then the double spy with 833 entries. I absolutely whiffed the bigger spy, the 100K one. Finished 94th percentile there. But then in these other two smaller spies, I did really well. 1.4 top percent finish. In the 50K spy, finished 38th there. And then I finished 5th in the double spy there, a top 1% finish. And you can see this is kind of what I've tried to do here. You know, I either want to be in this top 1% or I want to be bricking out. That's just kind of how I've been building my lineups, giving myself a chance to win. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. So that is the accounting there. I as I've mentioned before, I'm playing a little fast and loose with a $2,000 bankroll. You know, you don't want to be putting $400 of a $2,000 GPP bankroll. But as we've also said, this bankroll challenge is an arbitrary construct because humans like patterns in coloring between lines. So that's why we're doing it. But I am going to stick within this range. I envision playing, you know, $400 to $500 in single entry tournaments each week. And that is just how it's going to go. But let's pull up some of these lineups here and we can start talking through it. Yeah, Worm, we were what our tilt space lineup. I think I had a message from Leone this morning. What did he say? Leone said we finished 56th in the millie and didn't win our 200 person field GPP, which is pretty wild. And I believe he said if we had Cooper Kupp instead of Stephon Diggs in that lineup, we would the Billy Baker, which logically from a lineup construction standpoint, it was a Josh Allen double stack. I mean, very unlikely that we are going to go a Josh Allen single stack with Emmanuel Sanders and pivot our contrarian high upside wide receiver to the chalky wide receiver, but a fun sliding doors experiment. The butterfly effect of me waking up a fractional millionaire with Joe Holka and Michael Leone. That would have been fun. That would have been fun. Let's pull up some of my contests here. I'm a little behind this morning, so I don't have all my tabs open. Forgive me. I do want to announce a follow-up on the Swolecast lineup in the 5K Wrangler Long Live Sports Series. I did fall out of the cash line there. I did get a little too excited, a little too eager posting my screenshot before the contest finished. We were cashing for $2. But I will say, got lots of mentions yesterday. People loving the Swolecast lineups there. So shout out to all the true grinders out there watching the Swolecast and tailing our impeccable plays. All right, let's first pull up this double spy here. This lineup, similar to our tilt space lineup, was a Josh Allen double stack. To me, this one came together fairly simple in that I knew I liked the Allen to Diggs, and then Sanders by far looked like the best of the secondary options. I think you could have made a case for Beasley. Dink had a Josh Allen, Beasley, Sanders double stack in his lineup that was near the top of the leaderboard in the slant. As a hand builder, I'm probably never galaxy braining that much, but I did like this double stack. I wrestled with the bring back. You know, I had considered Terry McLaurin, ultimately thought he was a little too expensive for the build that I was trying to get to. And then I also considered Logan Thomas, and generally don't like being in that kind of mid-tier at tight end, would rather just pay up for a Kelsey or Waller. But sometimes in these GPP lineups, it's nice to just correlate with the tight end and get rid of it. But I actually felt like that logic for this week was I just wanted to get rid of the running back position. There were so few running back plays that I actually liked that just getting a correlation with a cheap mid-tier running back who had a ceiling like Antonio Gibson, that just fit pretty well. And I think I was showing this lineup on the tilt space last night, and someone was ribbing me for having so much chalk. But again, we talked about this all Saturday. We've been talking about it this whole season, basically, on Tilt Space, on the morning crams, on the Friday strategy shows. And I had the flexibility to decide how I wanted to play this based on what happened in the 1 p.m. So if you remove these guys who played late, I hit on Allen, Gibson, not so much Diggs, but Sanders, and then the Browns D, who I got at 7%, 16 there. So I'm heading into this 4 p.m. slate. I believe I was already well cashing at that point and had the most PMR of anyone ahead of me in the contest. So to me, this was a perfect situation where I could take on a little bit of chalk with this lineup. And I also knew that my tight end, Gerald Everett, was going to be very under-owned there. So I wasn't just fully chalking it up. And I also didn't think Madison was going to get to like the 25 to 30% range that we might have seen if Dalvin Cook was ruled out early in the week. So I was confident that this lineup still gave me a position to move up the leaderboard and catch people without being, fear of being duplicated with some of these plays. And that's what ended up being the case. I was hedged too, in that I had some other lineups with Russ double stacks and Justin Jefferson. We had our tilt space stuff that had kind of a different textured lineup with our Josh Allen double stack. So ultimately I felt good about going with some of this chalk, and I think it worked out. I probably would have ended up with some kind of Carson, Jefferson, kind of Mike Evans, maybe amalgam there. And it probably would have worked out relatively similarly. But because running back was so thin, I felt good about getting to Alexander Madison here. Let's see here, guys. Willis, I finished in the Cool Cat contest. Where is it? I finished 17th. I actually made money on the contest, though. It was a $75 buy-in. I got 125 back, which is hard to do in a payout structure like that. So I can show that lineup here too. I was hopeful I had a sweat. I thought I was going to have a sweat. This was my Russ double stack team. So in the early slate, I had Swift that hit. I had CEH. I had the Claypool Jamar Chase little mini correlation that looked good. And in Saints D. I had Saints D there at 1.6% for 20. So heading into the 4 p.m., I had the Russ double with Everett and Metcalf in the Jefferson bringback. So I thought I was fairly live there. Ended up not even being close. Chipotle Attic, who fired 27 entries into this. And I was telling someone in the Discord that, it was negative EV to fire this many bullets at a super top heavy, where is this? Contest details? At a super heavy prize pool like this, and that it doesn't change things too much for the rest of the field. Maybe I was wrong. Chipotle Attic with 27 bullets or whatever. Congratulations. The Cool Cat Crown NFT now belongs to Chipotle Addict. Nice to see him finally get a win. Let's see here. Everyone should appreciate Peter's sacrifice. No way these bits are plus EV for the bedroom. Definitely not on the team as much thanks to Twitter comments. No comment, Rob. No comment, Rob. I'm doing just fine, but I appreciate your concern. You stay a fan, I'll stay the man, Rob. What's up, Gerald? I took 8th in the slant right below Dink last night. Very nice job. It seemed like our crew had a pretty good day yesterday. Thank you, Chris, for appreciating my conditionally formatted spreadsheet. I do appreciate that. Drico says, I'm starting to wonder if the expensive QBs should be stacked more with their cheap receivers. I definitely think that's viable. I think it's also contextual on the team, right? I mean, the Bills are just a team where when Josh Allen goes nuclear, there are multiple guys coming along for the ride. I think the Cardinals are clearly another team where that fits. Yesterday, I know Kyler didn't go crazy, but the AJ Green, Christian Kirk, or you could have gone Rondale Moore. Obviously, he wasn't the one that had the big game. But I think in those offenses that have the potential to score 40 with the elite QB, and have, viable cheap receivers. I think it's harder, even like with Mahomes. Obviously, you could do Hardman. It starts to get pretty thin with like Robinson and Pringle. But I think on the Bills and the Cardinals, where those second, third, fourth wide receivers have decent target shares, I think it's viable for sure. Yes, Eric, I saw you in the Pete GPP. We will take a look at that in a second. We can pull that up right now. Let's see. The Deposit King, and I mentioned this on the show yesterday, because I accidentally created a recurring event for another one of these listener leagues. You will see 2 leagues again this week. Only enter the one that will say week 4 Deposit Kingdom GPP. There will be a recurring one that pops up that says week 2. Do not enter that. Once it goes this second week without filling, it will disappear. I finished 185th out of 200. This was my super dusty single entry lineup that I also had in the SPY. Ran that Lamar Jackson skinny stack to Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown left like 25 points on the floor. Had the DeAndre Swift bring back. Definitely love the Jonathan Taylor, AJ Brown mini. That obviously flops. My Elijah Moore and Noah Fant. This was then just having to get unique late, knowing how far behind I was. So then I played a one-off Mike Evans and Elijah Moore and Noah Fant. So this is what a GPP lineup that goes bad looks like. That's what happens. So let's go up here. We see Gator Bait takes it down with a nice score. And looky, what do we have here? We have the exact same Josh Allen double stack to Stephon Diggs and Sanders. Bring it back with Gibson. Love it. He plays a little Metcalf Conklin correlation. I mean, how beautiful is that? That is very nice. Love that. I believe on our Tilt Space team, we had so many teams I'm now forgetting, but I think we had the Jefferson Everett correlation. But if you flip that to the Conklin Metcalf, like Gatorbait did, you're really cooking. Played a one-off Javonte Williams. Love that play at that ownership and that price. And then also Eckler. But Gatorbait, I just realized you did one of the biggest no-nos in DFS. And you played your early running back in the flex. You got to move Eckler up, man. We can't all roster bait to this beautiful team knowing that the early guy was in the flex. Gatorbait, congratulations on winning, but this will forever have an asterisk next to it. It will forever have an asterisk. Let's see. Siler, I see you up here too. You were 21st in the double spy, and I see Siler here. I assume this might have been your same team. Lamar Jackson, Swift, and you got the Andrews instead of Marquise Brown. Very nice. You have Odell going early there. Eat a little chalk. Bengals D. You play the Madison Metcalf correlation late. And then Cup one off. Mecole Hardman one off. You just played the best plays. Nice work. Let's see here. I heard one of you on the Tilt Space mention, of course, you're going to double stack Allen. I thought since he's a running QB, wouldn't it usually be just one receiver? I mean, Josh Allen does pitch in on the ground, but he is also way more of a prolific passer than, say, a guy like Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson, where relative to their overall production, they're getting the lion's share of it through their rushing, where Josh Allen is going to get the majority through the passing, and then the rushing is just a bonus. So I do think Josh Allen is definitely different from those guys. Yes, Mongo, every week, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf play rock, paper, scissors, and whoever wins the best out of 21 series gets all the fantasy points that week. That's just how it works. Congratulations, Ryan. 6th in the Deposit Kingdom and 6th in the smaller double spy. Let's see here, Ryan. This is your lineup. Man, holy cow. Takes the Fields snowflake, but just pops off everywhere else. Had the Swift, Mark Andrews mini correlation, the Madison, DK Metcalf correlation, the Godwin, Cooper Kupp correlation, and a one-off Tyler Boyd at 4,700. Play the Cardinals D. Easy game. Man, that is a nice looking team. I like all those little minis you got in. Definitely a slightly chalkier team, at least in this contest, but I bet your ownership percentages were much lower in other contests there. Very nice team, and congratulations. Yes, I think Holka is doing good. Thanks for asking, James. Here we go. Did you punt DST, or was it a conscious choice? Where did you guys land in the millie? Yeah, we finished 56th in the millie. Which lineup are you talking about? So for running, for defense, my stuff yesterday was there were not a lot of defensive plays that I liked. My favorite defensive plays were the Saints and the Browns, but they were a little bit more pricey. So I was trying to build in mind to be able to get up to them. And I mean, I'm not doing anything fancy at defense. I mean, my screener for defense is this simple. Are they going to be popular? Okay, cross them off the list. And do they have some kind of ceiling, some kind of path to sacks, to turnovers, yada, yada. That's all I'm looking at. The only other defense that I kind of liked in the cheap range at 2,500 was the Falcons. And again, that was purely an ownership thing. I thought the Titans and Bengals looked like great plays, but they were going to be super popular. The Cardinals, I thought, looked like a good play. They were going to be very popular. And I basically refuse to eat chalk at defense unless I just absolutely love my lineup. I can't change anything else, and it's the only option. But I haven't been running into that problem yet. Yes, Mongo. Yesterday on the Tilt Space, we were trying to will a Gerald Everett 70-yard TD into existence. It did not happen. Pete, Najee was nowhere on my radar. Can you help me become part of the elite and mold my mind to understand the play? So I'll admit, Six, he was not on my radar yesterday morning either. I was playing that correlation in where's that team? Here's my other team. I think this is the Rust, the same team I had in the Cool Cats contest. I had in this SPY that ended up doing a little 4X here, finished 38. And yeah, I had the Claypool Jamar Chase. So I knew I didn't want to stack this game, but I knew I wanted to pick my spots in this game. I ended up getting on Chase because of Boyd catching more ownership. So I knew I had Chase. And then I was basically deciding between Claypool and Juju. In this lineup, I ended up going with Claypool because I needed the money to make it fit. However, Leone mentioned the Najee play, and it was more a combination of, again, how gross running back was, how our constructions were funneling us to running backs in that mid-range, the high fives, the low sixes. You're getting the correlation. You're getting him at not insane ownership. And then you're also getting him in a week where Deontay Johnson is ruled out. And Deontay Johnson is their guy who's hogging all of those low ADOT touches. So I do think the thesis that Najee would be getting more targets, not necessarily a career high, what did he have? 19 targets or something absurd. That's definitely on the upper end of projectable outcomes. But I mean, just to sum it up, I mean, it was just a roster construction and a correlation thing at low ownership. And when that stuff starts to line up, it works. Nick got 10th in the GPP. Congratulations, Nick. Let's see here. I'm catching up on the chat. Siler is a one lineup for all contests, bro. I like it. Focus on that one lineup. As long as, I do think if you're playing a ton of different contest sizes, you might be leaving a little bit on the table, just not kind of catering your exposures to that specific contest. But I think if you are playing contests with a similar amount of people, I think that strategy can work. Wait, is that right? Chris G got second in the listener league? Oh yeah, I didn't even recognize that. There you go. Chris G, who is in Vegas, just casually gets second. Chris is more of a season-long bro who we are slowly converting into a DFS bro here. What did he do? He had the Stafford double stack to Kupp and Higbee. He brings it back with Godwin, little chalk stack there. Oh no. Oh no. Chris G put his early guy in the flex too. Chris, you have so much to learn. Zach Pascal in the flex? Come on, dude. We got to get DK Metcalf, your most expensive late game guy in the flex. There's an asterisk next to this. Top 2 guys in the Deposit Kingdom Listener League have asterisks next to their victory. Goodness. Rough week for PayPal. I'm sorry. We will mourn you. I do just want to say in general about some of this stuff. Obviously, I had a good day yesterday. I'm in a good mood because of it. But the way we play these tournaments where we're playing them to win, we can easily have weeks on weeks on weeks of poor performance in bricking tournaments. In fact, it's probably the more likelier outcome. And I think it is just important to remember, even if you bricked, it's not this like, oh my God, I suck at DFS thing. I mean, we're all going to have plenty of those weeks. I think what's encouraging though, is if you can streamline your process, feel good about it, and know that you can replicate it week after week, and just trust that eventually your edge will realize itself. And if not, that you're playing within your bankroll management to make sure that you can stay in the game. Did you expect Madison's ownership to be higher? No, I think this is about where I thought he would be. I think if he was slightly cheaper, if he was at like 5,500, I think he would have been way more de facto chalk. I think if the Dalvin Cook news had came out more concretely earlier in the week, he would have been higher. But in a contest like this, I was assuming about 20% ownership for Madison, which I was very comfortable with at that price. Yeah, Big Ben looks pretty dusty. I will give you that. Trying to catch up on the chat here. How did people get on Manny Sanders? Just a product of a double stack. Yeah, product of a double stack. He'd been involved as their deep target. He was getting the air yards, and everything was kind of set up for him to have a regression in the box score. And as much as I like, Gabriel Davis, he's just not running near as many routes as Emmanuel Sanders. Like Sanders, I think is pretty clearly, I guess you could say him and Beasley are kind of like co-twos, but Beasley just obviously working more underneath, Sanders getting more of the valuable downfield target. So to me, Sanders was kind of just the logical second guy to pair with Diggs. And I didn't really overthink that a ton. I wasn't really ever going to play Beasley or Gabriel Davis. Let's said that. Who said Kyle Pitts is good? I'll say Kyle Pitts is good. I think Kyle Pitts is good. I think the Falcons offense is pretty broken right now. I mean, even Calvin Ridley, who we know is good, is taking a pretty big production hit. I don't think that offense is operating efficiently right now. And I mean, was it the whole reason too? Like we were generally a little nervous about drafting Kyle Pitts is because he was a rookie tight end that was going to take a little time to acclimate. Well, now we need to give him a little time to acclimate. On top of that, the offense is highly dysfunctional right now. So I don't know. Maybe I'm stubborn. Maybe I need to adjust my priors. But if we can get Pitts's price and ownership to keep dropping and this offense to just get marginally more competent, I'm still in on Pitts. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was a nice week. We had the 3,000 here. And then I also, because I mentioned this on the Tilt Space, but I put in our Tilt Space lineups into like a small 3-max contest this week. It was the Pat Mayo one, just so I can track them. And then when we're talking late swaps and stuff, I like to be able to go fiddle with the lineup. So I tossed our Tilt Space lineup in the Pat Mayo Listener League, and it got third here. So you guys can see this lineup that we had in the Tilt Space that was for a while holding on to win these tournaments, but ultimately fell back. You guys heard us mention the Josh Allen double stack, bring it back with Gibson. This, of course, had the Najee and Jamar Chase correlation. And then similar to my double spy lineup, we decided that we could play kind of the optimal chalk here. And we went with Higbee and Godwin. We actually split it because we also put our lineup in the Millie, that we decided this was actually a situation to hedge those exposures. And in the Millie, we did the Everett and DK Metcalf, or sorry, Everett and Justin Jefferson. And that's why we were tilting, if you have Diggs, if you have Kupp instead of Diggs in this lineup, you win the Millie. I think if we had Conklin, Metcalf instead of Everett, Jefferson, we're, top 5 in the Millie. So that's how it happens on those. But I do think in general, letting the chalk ride in our super small field GPP contest, the Juke, made sense. And then in our Millie, going more under-owned with Everett and Jefferson and giving us a chance to kind of climb the leaderboards made sense. Shay wants to start a new GoFundMe for Hollywood Brown. Yeah, it was absolutely brutal yesterday. I mean, I think it was a legit, like a 25 worth of fantasy points that he left on the table. Yep. Manny Sanders in the air yards by low model. Always nice to get that vote of confidence that the targets and the usage is there and that the production will follow. CEH. Yeah. Apparently 4,800 was too cheap for CEH yesterday. Do you think Diggs' ceiling could be troublesome or small sample size with all the options now in Buffalo with Sanders now, plus seems to be targeting the other wide receivers more often as well? I mean, I do think this is a conversation worth having, and Sanders is the unique variable because Diggs had no trouble, earning elite volume last year. I'm not a film grinder, so I have no idea if these defenses are rolling more coverage over to Diggs and he's just seeing more double teams, and Josh Allen is just feeding the open man where Beasley's lined up on linebackers over the middle and Sanders has single coverage on the outside. I don't really know the mechanics of how that's working. I'm not worried about Diggs. I mean, we can go look at, Tyreek Hill, as well, back-to-back weeks underwhelming. We're not pressing the panic button on him. I think when we can just hang our hat on elite talents and elite offenses, we know there'll be bumps where the offense is so good that it gets spread around. But yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. I'll be curious to see, what some of the other underlying usage trends say about Diggs. But I don't think I'm ready to press the panic button. Mike Williams looks so good. Yeah, I mean his price. I bet his salary flips Keenan next week. I have to do my first look at week 4 DFS salaries. I'll record that later today for the Mayo Media Network channel. And I will not be surprised if Mike Williams' salary has flipped. Let's see here. Here's Sam hopping. Sam will let us know. Believe Diggs is on pace to have as many targets as last year, just hasn't been as efficient. Okay. There you go. There you go. I think the same Diggs conversation can be had about Hopkins. Yeah. I still, though, I think Diggs's capacity to, I don't know. I'm trying to think this through. Well, first of all, Hopkins was injured heading into yesterday. So I'm not going to read too much into yesterday specifically. I'm probably out over my skis with a take like this, but my gut says that the way the Cardinals offense is designed is more to kind of spread the ball around. And I think my take would be that Rondale Moore and how Cliff Kingsbury wants to run that offense. I think that hurts Hopkins' target ceiling more than Emmanuel Sanders hurts Stephon Diggs's target ceiling. Maybe that's a bad take. That's just my gut read on comparing those two situations. All right. Let's check out. Was there anything else we wanted to look at here this week from the lineups? I already showed you my lineup that got dusted in the Deposit Kingdom. Anyone else in here? Any recognizable names? I see Silas up here. Oh yeah, Silas posted this lineup in the chat. Has the Herbert to Mike Williams. Bring it back with Kelsey. It is honestly unbelievable what Kelsey is able to do week after week. It's crazy. It basically just seems like he never falters. Lou Dog, of course, here in 13th. What did he do? A Brady Evans, Scotty Miller. I love the Scotty Miller Galbrain. I thought he was definitely in play as a dart throw and not eating the KJ Osborne cheap chalk Taylor Swift correlation. Not correlation there. In my head, those are two guys I like, and so they were correlated. Let's see. DeAndre Swift with Mark Andrews, Jonathan Taylor. He did avoid the A.J. Brown correlation. Nice work there. Cooper Kupp on the bring back. Nice lineup, Lou. I know. Olamide crossed my mind for a half second on Sunday morning, and then I didn't do it. I think if Olamide would have been in the late slate, he would have been a guy I would have used. I was hunting. If my lineups hadn't done well, I was thinking a lot about some of those cheap wide receivers that weren't going to be highly owned. I ended up settling on Elijah Moore here, but man, it was hard to find those cheap wide receivers that had access to some kind of ceiling and weren't going to be popular. I thought KJ Hamler was the other guy that kind of just always makes sense, and he ended up leaving with an injury, but I don't know. He always looks good. Hamler always looks good to me. He has that Deshaun Jackson better in best ball, better in GPP thing going on where I feel like he can always get there in a big way. Olamide had a decent game and still got outscored by Patterson. Yeah, Patterson is he is on an absolute roll right now. He just gets it done. Shout out to Davis Maddox, Eskimo bro. Let's see here. I also wanted to check my the owners club from yesterday. This one stung because I have this, 87 some points from the Bills here, my QB wide receiver stack. Seahawks D let me down. Logan Thomas didn't do much outside of that one little touchdown. So still cashing, which is nice. Ideally, if I could just flip, if I do Cardinals D here instead of Seahawks D, that's what's so hard about these is knowing where to kind of slot your defense and your uncorrelated, more variant pieces, because you are just kind of hoping to get lucky in that regard. This lineup, Russ didn't go off. Broncos defense did solid. If I could have just picked the best things from these two, if I go Bills, Broncos, Cardinals, then we're cooking. If I just swap these two, that's a 20 point. It's almost a 30 point swing there. That gets me up to 148. And let's just do this to torture ourselves. 148 would be good for fourth place right now. So I had a 2v2 worth about $950 right there. That's how it goes. I did gal brain this one. Jags stack, Tennessee running back, Raiders tight end, and Ravens defense. But definitely having a lot of fun with this. And I'm also, I think I mentioned this yesterday. We'll have my showdown cram tonight for the Dallas Eagles game, and Justin Herzig from Own the Moment from the Owners Club is going to join me. So we're going to talk showdown, and then we're also going to talk a little Owners Club stuff. And I think they have some announcements for some new things coming down the pipeline. So if you guys are into the Owners Club, you can join us tonight. I believe we'll go live at 7:30. We'll do showdown stuff for, 20 to 30 minutes. And then we'll talk Owners Club for a bit as well, if you'd like to join us. I'm trying to think of other stuff. Splash Play, of course, will be at 2:30. Spags and I will be reviewing the week, looking at some early waiver wire picks. And then, yes, for you NFT bros, Club NGMI, we're going to keep simulcasting them on the channel. So a full day of content at youtube.com/Peter Overzet. I don't know if there is anything else here that I am forgetting. I think I am excited to keep playing these single entry 3 max. On the record, I will keep playing these spies. Now that I've built up my role just a little bit for this year, I might start expanding. Maybe I'll start playing the smaller power sweeps, the $150 3 max, but trying not to get too far out ahead of myself, knowing that the bad weeks are coming. So always nice though to have a week like this where we hit across multiple different contests. It definitely makes things more fun. But I will also say, I mentioned this earlier too, but people asking about process. We were talking in the Discord about how much time you need to invest, if you want to be, good at this stuff. And my answer to it was, it's more about getting your process set up initially, getting the data pulled in. I like getting, my data, my aggregated ownership. I like looking at different things like ceiling projection, ownership, looking at what the run the sims are telling us, and then making that decision. So to me, the work is mostly getting my data and cleaning it up and presenting it in a way that's easy for me to digest and process quickly. But then the actual research itself, I think outside of shows, which can double as research for me, and those conversations are very helpful. I think I'm only spending probably somewhere from 4 to 5 hours a week on just like pure DFS research, reading my buddy Ben Gretch's Stealing Signals, reading Karane's walkthrough on NBC Sports Edge, which, by the way, I have to give a plug to that. Karane's article, the walkthrough on Friday, it's really, really good. And I know Karain is my ship chasing co-host. I'm clearly biased, but I do think it is like quite possibly the best version of that piece of content, where it's just this comprehensive, actionable piece of information that gets you ready for the entire slate. So be sure you're reading Stealing Signals. Be sure you're reading the walkthrough. But yeah, outside of reading that stuff, it's mainly just pulling in the data to my spreadsheet and then being ready on Sunday morning to make decisions based on that updated data. I mentioned last week how I fat fingered my main lineup. I ended up running out a skinny Jalen Hurts lineup, ended up being fine, but I was upset because it wasn't what I intended to do. This week, I built more lineups on Saturday night. And this was my trick that we did, because we talk a lot about, trying to find that sweet spot with playing with builds and knowing what's possible on this slate, but not getting anchored to it. And I had heard some stuff from people saying, I'll just toss the lineups in the 25-cent and move on, but I still get the reps in building them. What I did was I built them. I took screenshots of them, but didn't save them. Because for me, that is kind of like the difference between being anchored. It's like, well, it's already loaded in here. Might as well just enter it, let it ride from my Saturday night build. Instead, I pull up the screenshots. I remember, oh, I like this, but I had Darrell Henderson in and now he's not playing. I'm gonna tweak this stuff. So that was kind of my hack, was building lineups on Saturday, taking screenshots of them, not saving them, and then rebuilding Sunday with the new information and kind of my starting cheat sheet, so to speak, already established from a Saturday night build. So I'll try to pass along any tips and tricks that work for me. If you guys are in the Discord, we can share those kind of things as well. I think it's helpful because I know streamlining a process can be overwhelming. And I know, especially if you listen to a ton of content, you can feel like you're getting pulled in a lot of directions. And I wrestle with this too, because I like listening to content. I love listening to all the ETR stuff. I just mentioned Stealing Signals and Karain's walkthrough. Like, not only is it great content, but I like hanging out with my friends, so to speak, when they're talking on a podcast. So then the key is, how do I make sure I don't get anchored to these takes and continue to trust mine while still enjoying consuming that content? So that's the eternal struggle. That's what I'm always wrestling with. If you guys are a member at Run the Sims, just ping me and I will add you to the private Run the Sims channel in the Deposit Kingdom Discord. If you are not a Run the Sims member, say you don't play big enough volume to justify that, but you do want to still get access in there, you can become a YouTube member. Some of you guys are club VIPs. I think it's a couple extra bucks a month if you want to upgrade to the DFS tier. That is the Opto Bro and Hand Builder tier. That is it for my plugs. I'm going to go finish the newsletter, the Fantasy Life newsletter. If you guys aren't subscribed to that, in your inbox 7 days a week for free. I have 14 takeaways from today's or yesterday's action. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me for all these sweats, for all these tilts in these recaps. I will see you at 2:30 for Splash Play.